PSR Fantasy Live, Week 5, Stacks and Facts. Me, Brady, and our guest, El Capo.
Here.
Welcome to the stream, man. How are you guys feeling today?
I'm ready to make some money, man.
Feeling good, man.
That's what I like to hear. Two of the best cappers that I know. I am here with Brady and El Capo. If you haven't already, hit the like button. We're going to hop right into our favorite stacks from the main slate. We got a long episode. We're going to switch it up a little bit. At the end, we're going to bring in Sharpie, and we're going to go over the Atlanta and New York Jets props for that Sunday morning first game in London this year. But we're going to hop right into it. Tennessee and Jacksonville is where we're going to start. I really like Derrick Henry. He's been on an unreal run, most expensive player on the slate. He currently leads the league in yards after contact. Historically, it's dominated a matchup against the Jaguars. In 10 career games, he's ran over 150 yards 3 times, and I expect him to be the highest, chalkiest player on the slate, so meaning the most owned player on the slate in cash and GPPs. Are you guys eating or fading the Derrick Henry chalk this week? I'll start it off with Brady.
Oh, I'm eating it, man. He's probably going to be in every single one of my lineups this week. Worked out decently last week, but I think it's another great spot for Henry. I'm going to be in the chalk. I know he's going to be the highest owned, but I'll be overweight to the field either way.
I definitely feel you on that. El Hector, what are your opinions on Derrick Henry this week?
So that's an interesting game in terms of how the Titans want to balance their offense. They did not have Julio Jones or A.J. Brown last week. I'm not up to date on the status. I've been locked in on baseball these past couple of days, but it's just kind of interesting to see how they decide to do their play calling depending on their status.
I think Hector went out a little bit. I was actually pretty shocked that Derrick Henry's been used so much in the passing game this year.
Did you guys lose me?
Yeah, for a second we lost you. I was just saying, I was surprised how much Derrick Henry has been used in the passing game this year. But what were you saying, though, El Hector?
Maybe I lost him again.
Probably have too many tabs here.
I'm using my computer. So the only I like Henry. I'll say that. I'm just curious about how the pace is going to go for that game. The Jaguars have been passing a lot, but last week they decided to switch it up. On the season, they were running 38% of their plays, but last week they kicked it up to 54%. If they're running and the Titans are running, that clock is going to drain, and that is the only worry. It's hard to hate Henry. He's a fucking beast.
Nah, I definitely will agree with you on that one, El Hector, about the pace in the game. But I will say, with Derrick Henry being so high owned this week, the run back option that I was looking at, one news that happened last week on Thursday was DJ Chark being out for the season. I like me some Laviska Shenault on this slate, man. Very cheap price tag, $4,900 on DK and $5,800 on Fanduel this week. Last week, he had a career high in yards and caught 6 balls. He usually works out the slot, but I think he's going to be lined up everywhere. Are you guys more interested? What is the run back option you guys are running back with the Jaguars? With so much Henry being owned, you can't just play Henry in GPPs. You got to run it back with somebody. Who are you guys looking at? Brady, I'm going to start off with you.
Yeah, you mentioned Shenault. I think he's going to be probably the most popular option on the Jaguars in terms of those wide receivers. With Chark being out, I like Marvin Jones Jr. a lot as well. He is $5,700, so Chenault's going to be the much cheaper option. I think he's $900 cheaper, and I think he's going to be the higher owned option between the two. But you take a look at Marvin Jones Jr., I think he can benefit as well with Chark being out. You know, even with Chark playing, he's still averaging 13.45 DraftKings points per week, had 9 targets in week 1, 11 in week 2, 8 in week 3. So again, I think he's somebody else that's going to be benefiting with this Chark situation here. And on top of that, Tennessee has, I believe, given up the most DraftKings points to opposing wide receivers. So to be honest, I like both Marvin Jones Jr. and Shenault. Pretty much whoever fits in my lineup. If I can go up and get Marvin Jones Jr., I think he'll be lower owned. I'd prefer him. But if I need the salary savings, I have no problem going with Shenault there.
I'm actually shocked that you said Chenault's going to be more high owned than Marvin Jones. That's a pretty interesting thing. If that's the case, then I'll probably be playing Marvin Jones. Whoever's the lowest owned between the two, I'll definitely be more inclined to play. Al Hector, what are your opinions on the Jaguars this week? If you had to pick one dude, gun to your head, who are you playing?
Well, Chenault made us some money last game against the Bengals. They did have an uptick in the run last game, but the Titans are decent against the run. 3.86 yards per attempt. We don't know if that game is an outlier, if they're going to move with the run heavy moving forward, but I do think Laviska is a safe option. Marvin Jones was eating prior to that Bengals matchup, so the market, it might be a buy low on Marvin after last week, and the market's also going to react to Laviska eating. His first reception was for like 50 yards. He had a great game. I don't hate either player.
Yeah, me either. The one thing that will be really interesting about that game is the Tennessee pass defense. Their secondary has been absolutely brutal this year. So I think the Jaguars receivers is where we're going to look at to attack it on the run back. But let's get into other stacks. Brady, what is your favorite stack of the week? I started it off with the Tennessee and Jaguars. Not the sexiest of ones, but we're starting it off with the highest owned player at the slate, obviously. But what's your favorite stack of the week?
Man, it's tough. I don't really have a favorite stack. Like for stacks for me this week, I'm going pretty weird in a lot of them. I guess one that I'll touch on to start out, and this one might seem a little bit weird, but man, Daniel Jones has actually been doing pretty good this year, averaging 24.8 DraftKings points. He's going against Dallas, and this game is the highest total on the entire slate. And with I believe that, they ruled out Shepard, they ruled out Slayton, so that makes it pretty easy to get your stackable options there, right? You have Galladay, who's 5,900, and also Tony, who did emerge last week with 9 targets, 6 receptions, and they're talking about wanting to get Tony more involved. So, Tony's a very cheap stacking option, and I do like this Giants offense, especially against Dallas here in a game script that they're probably going to be trailing, and it is the highest total on the slate. And then you have clear run back options. You have CeeDee Lamb, who is way too cheap. You have Amari Cooper, who is way too cheap, 6,200 and 6,100. Those prices make absolutely no sense. And then if you want to get a little crazy, Dalton Schultz is 4,400 as a nice run back option as well. So, getting a little weird with the stacks this week, but I think that Giants Dallas game is going to be one to target as a whole.
I definitely do agree with you. That's one of the higher point totals on this slate. The point totals aren't really too high this week. CeeDee Lamb's price tag, like you said, $6,200 on DK and $6,900 on Fanduel is absolutely way too cheap. That's a price tag that definitely stood out to me. Al Hector, what are you looking at for this Cowboys and Giants game?
Brady hit it right on the head. You get it's awesome when you have a stack and they're playing from behind, the 2-minute drill, playing from behind, pass. You get a lot of points that way. The Giants on the season passing 61.54% of their plays. He hit it on the head. I agree with everything he said.
The one thing that I was looking at in that game was the ownership difference between Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley. I think one of those two running backs are going to be GPP optimal this week. I know Ezekiel Elliott had a really good game last week, but I'm a little bit concerned that Ezekiel Elliott has become more touchdown or bust for DraftKings scoring with it being PPR. I'm kind of more inclined to play Saquon Barkley. And I think on FanDuel, I'm going to go with Barkley over Elliott. Just overall, I feel like the receiving floor for Barkley has definitely came back a little bit. The Giants are banged up in the wide receiver position as well. Barkley looks like he's getting healthier and healthier every week. What are you guys doing with this Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley conundrum?
Either or for me. I actually like both of them quite a bit. Taking a look at the ownership now, looks like they're coming in about the same ownership. Pretty much either or, whichever one fits for me. Both guys, they started off the year pretty slow, but it seems like both of them are back. And you mentioned Barkley, he's getting used a ton. I think he has like 40 total touches in the last 2 weeks. You have a great matchup against Dallas in a game, like we said, They're projected to be trailing. I can see him getting some receptions for sure. On the Zeke side, I don't know what it is with Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, but we touched on it Wednesday, Billy, how they threw the ball 58 times in week 1, and then week 2, 27, week 3, 26, week 4, 22. So I think they're really making an emphasis to get Zeke Elliott and some of these Cowboys running backs the ball. So either or for me, no strong lean one way or another. But I think, like you said, Billy, I think one of them has a very good chance of finding the optimal lineup in a game that's projected to be the highest owned on the slate in terms of points.
Yeah, shouts to Big Show working everything backstage. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It is October, and I need Big Show to send a link to Sharpie because I forgot to send the link to Sharpie. El Hector, what is your favorite stack of the week?
Real quick to touch up on the Barkley and the Cowboys running backs. Believe it or not, the Cowboys are actually giving up a tad more yards per attempt to running backs. The Cowboys 4.7. They've given up 2 touchdowns on the ground. The Giants 4.5, but they've given up 4 tutties. So it's interesting because like the Giants, they do like to pass. They might be playing from behind. So I am going to lean on the Cowboys running backs. Zeke did have a great game last week. Pollard had a great game the week before. It's going to be good to mix and match between the two. In terms of my favorite stack, so I just started digging into this bad boy today, and I'm liking the Chargers this week. I'm liking the Chargers. So the Chargers pass on 62.32% of their plays, and the Browns are known for – they have the second best run defense. They've given up 266 yards on the ground, 3.06 yards per attempt. But what does that matter to the Chargers? Eckler did eat his last game on the ground, but we've seen what they can do when they decide to air it out. They've been crushing teams. Cook had a really good game last week. He had his season high in receptions, 6, and yards 70, but the Browns on the season have been pretty good against the tight end position, only giving up 31.2 yards per game. Is this a Mike Williams bounce back? He's the books have him at 64.5 receiving yards. Last week the books had him at like 74. So he might be there for a bounce back. The Browns are averaging 26.2 yards per game to the running back position through the air. So if they're good against the tight end position and they're going to have success against Eckler on the ground and through the air, small sample size, it's only been 4 weeks, there is a possibility for Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, or even Jalen Gutton to have a great game. Jalen Gutton is averaging 46 snaps per game, but he's in the snap share the target share is insane. And if you're canceling out Eckler, not canceling, but if they can't find any success, I'm looking for Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, or Jalen Gutton to put up some points.
I definitely will agree with you on that one, El Hector. One thing, though, that I will disagree with you on is I'm actually looking to fade that game. I'm looking to play the Chargers defense. The Chargers defense actually really stood out to me price tag wise. Pretty cheap price tag, $2,700 on DK and $3,700 on Fanduel. And everything that you just alluded right there sounded like keys for the Chargers defense to actually have a really good game. They had a pretty safe floor. There's not really a lot of good defenses to go to on this slate. But if I had to pick somebody from this game, I would ultimately pick Keenan Allen just off the price tag. When I see Mike Allen's be more expensive than Keenan Allen, I'm just more inclined to play Keenan Allen. I know Mike Williams has looked amazing this year, but I don't know if I'm fully sold on Mike Williams being a superstar. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's a superstar caliber player yet. Brady, maybe you can give us your insights on this LA Chargers and Cleveland Browns game.
Yeah, so to be honest, not much interest in this game. I'm kind of going to probably, play bits and pieces. I like that Chargers defense call 2,700. I also like that Keenan Allen call as well, who's 6,500. I think Keenan Allen is always somebody that you can play every single week. He's going to get targets. He's going to get receptions. Still not sold on Mike Williams. I'm with you on that one, Billy. But I guess the problem I have is I don't mind stacking up the Chargers this week. It's just, who do you run it back with? Do I want to go back to Odell? Not really. Do I want to play Chubb or Hunt? Not really. It's a mess trying to pick between those two. So I guess that's my only problem is I'm just trying to find a run back option on the Browns, and I really can't.
Yeah, I was having the same sentiments too. But one of the stacks that I was looking at that I think that might go under the radar this week is going to be the Green Bay Packers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Devontae Adams is going to be chalk, and deservedly so. He seems like the top wide receiver play on the slate. He currently is the league leader in receptions and has been extremely efficient scoring touchdowns. He scored 19 touchdowns over his last 17 games, and he's in a great matchup. The Bengals have allowed the wide receiver 90 or more yards in 3 out of their first 4 games of the season. And then I think Aaron Jones could be a good GPP pivot if Devontae Adams is going to be so high owned. Maybe we get some Aaron Jones rushing touchdowns, one of the injury tags that we're going to have to definitely follow throughout the weekend. And you know what to do with the Bengals, man. Joe Burrow season, backdoor Burrow season with Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, for the casuals out there, they're pissed that he didn't get that primetime, anytime touchdown. Well, it's going to come on this main slate. One of the games that I'm going to definitely be heavily overweight on. I might be underweight on the Dallas-New York Giants game because I'm going to have a lot of ownership on this Green Bay-Cincinnati Bengals game. Am I crazy, or do you think I'm going down the right path, El Hector?
So I did pretty well in the Millie Maker last week, and the person that burnt me was Aaron Jones. I was watching that game too, and A.J. Dillon was – in there, like it was almost like they were alternating every other drive. It was crazy. And I just looked at it at the snap count, and AJ Dillon, week 1, 16 snaps, week 2, 19, week 3, 18. Last week he had 29. So that I like everything you said until you got to Aaron Jones.
I was just thinking about the ownership discount. Like, dude, if Devontae Adams is going to be like 80% owned in cash and probably 50% owned in GPPs, like, what are we going to do to get around that? Maybe Brady can help us out. Brady, what are you looking at in this Green Bay Cincinnati game?
Well, I think I'm going to eat the chalk with Adams here. I mean, I like Adams a ton. I think it's a great bounce back spot. But like you mentioned, he is coming in as the projected highest owned wide receiver, and rightfully so. In terms of other pieces in this game, it's a game that I'm probably not going to stack, but there's just so many pieces that I like, right? Like on the Bengals side, you have some wide receivers that are way too cheap. Chase, 5,800, way too cheap. Tyler Boyd is probably way too cheap, 5,300. Even T. Higgins at 5K. All 3 of these guys are way too cheap. And then on the Packers side, I like Adams. Won't get too much Jones. I do like other guys more than him, but I think an interesting play would be one Randall Cobb, who absolutely went off last week. And he was somebody that I was so high on before the season started. I thought, hey, he's coming back. Him and Rodgers have played before. I think Randall Cobb can, really do some damage this season. And then he comes out there in week 1 and he doesn't catch any passes from Aaron Rodgers. He does catch 1 pass from the backup. But yeah, last game he had 6 targets, 5 receptions, went out there, got a touchdown as well, scored 23.9 DraftKings points. He's sitting at 4,000. I think I might go back to Randall Cobb with MVS still being out.
I don't blame you at all, Brady. Shouts to T.O. Took it, though. He dropped in the 777 dono. He said, what up, Billy, Brady? El Hector, where's the money at this weekend? Good luck to everyone. Good luck to you, T.O. Took it. Hopefully we can get you some props for Sunday morning. That will get you paid at the end of the video. That's why we got Sharpie on the line, trying to get him in here within the next 10 to 15 minutes. But let's go back to El Hector. What other stacks caught your eye this weekend, or any other stats information that really caught your eye?
So I'm going to admit that in terms of stacks, I'm a little behind, but I was looking at some very interesting stats that would help with like NFL props. And I guess it could help with some stacks. Last week, I loved the Heineke Scary Terry stack.
That was funny.
They played really well. So, of course, I had to look into that game. So this game's interesting. The Saints are third against the rush, 3.11 yards per game. The Panthers beat the piss out of the Saints, 26-7, and McCaffrey only managed 72 rushing yards. 72 is a lot, but you know what I'm saying? Like 26-7, you're expecting him to have at least 200. So the Saints also held Aaron Jones to 9, A.J. Dillon to 19. The Saints, on defense, on average, have given up 7.8 receptions and 84 yards to the slot position. Adam Humphries ran 78% of his routes from the slot, and someone has to step up in place of Logan Thomas. In the past 3 weeks, Terry leads the team with 34 targets, but Humphries is second at 13, tied with McKissick. So right now, BetMGM has Humphries at over under 1.5 receptions. It is juiced at minus 175. I looked into why that could be. And that's because he had 1 reception in the past 2 games. He did have 1 target last week, 1 reception. The week before, 4 targets, 1 reception. So that's interesting, but I'm also interested in fading Antonio Gibson and playing J.D. McKissick. So J.D. McKissick is tied with Humphries with receptions, which puts him second on the team in the past 3 weeks. The Saints are averaging the Saints' run defense is averaging 50.8 rushing yards per game, but they're also giving up 5.2 receptions and 47 yards on average to the running back position. So that's going to be interesting. Maybe if you need to look for a cheaper back, maybe it's McKissick. I'm going to have to look into that, but I'm definitely in terms of NFL props, I'm definitely interested in Adam Humphries this week.
I definitely do see where you're coming from. Shouts to Brady on the Wednesday show. There's a tight end for the Washington football team that he was talking about. Brady, can you tell the people what tight end you're looking at?
Yeah, man, I think it might be Ricky Seals-Jones season. I mean, we have, Thomas is out. A lot of guys are out on Washington. We have De'Ami Brown's out. Cam Sims is out as well. Curtis Samuel is questionable. And, who are they going to pass the ball to, right? Like Humphries, like you mentioned. But I think Seals-Jones could benefit as well. And the McLaurin, I also like the point that he brought up that, the Saints run defense is one of the best run defenses in the league. So I don't see them trying to run on the Saints. I see them trying to pass on the Saints, and that's going to help out guys like Humphries, like Seals-Jones, and like McLaurin. So yeah, I think these pass catching options for Washington are going to be very sneaky and very low owned this week, and I think they could definitely perform well.
One thing that was really interesting this week when I was doing my player pool. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? All right. I was about to say, one thing that I was looking at the tight end position was how bad the tight end position is this week on FanDuel and Draftkings. There's really not a lot of people to go to. I kind of was looking. I laughed at Brady when he first said Ricky Seals-Jones, and then it set it in for a couple of days, and I was like, you know what, Brady at $2,500, man. I don't blame you, man. I might just super punt at tight end this week. Anthony Ferguson was the other cheap tight end I was looking at this week. He kind of fits in the game stacks with Derrick Henry and the Jaguar wide receivers we're talking about. But I think I'm going to have a lot of TJ fucking Hawkinson this week, man. I think I'm going to go back to the well with TJ Hawkinson. What tight ends really caught your guys' eyes this week? There isn't a lot of them. So what are you guys looking at? Hopefully you guys can help me out here.
For me, like I talked about Ricky Seals-Jones, it looks like Kittle is going to be out. It says he's doubtful right now. So that makes Ross Dwelly. He's 2,700. He could be an option to look at. But yeah, in terms of tight ends, I'm just probably going to punt for the most part. I think Hawkinson's interesting against Minnesota. But yeah, like you mentioned, like there's nothing that really sticks out a ton. So might as well punt down and go up and get Devontae Adams, go up and get Derrick Henry. Schultz is fine going against the Giants. That game's a high-scoring game. I don't mind going back to Ingram, but I just see myself punting to Seals-Jones, Ross Dwelly, guys like that this week probably.
I didn't like Schultz's ownership this week, man. I feel like he's going to be fool's gold. A little bit. Price tag went up. Ownership went up. I'm out. That's all the keys to the victories that I need to see. El Hector, what tight ends were you looking at?
So I got a good one. Um, he made me some money last week. I tossed on Jaceki over 35.5 receiving yards, and he finished off with I believe it was over 50. He finished off with 57. Last week he finished off with 5 receptions, 57 yards, and a tutty. So this is interesting because all year I've been attacking the tight end position when they play the Buccaneers. So this is what I have for stats. So again, we have a really good run defense. The Bucs lead the league in rushing yards against. They've only given up 190 rushing yards on the ground. I drafted Gaskins in fantasy, and he's been an absolute dud. The Dolphins are going to have to pass. And in the last 2 weeks, Jaceki leads the team in targets and yards. The Bucs are averaging 7 receptions, 59 yards per game to the tight end position. I attacked Hunter Henry last week. When the Patriots-Bucs game, I attacked Hunter Henry. The Buccaneers gave up 2 touchdowns to the tight end position last week. Against the Rams, Higbee, I believe I threw on his first touchdown. That cash, they gave up a touchdown to him. The Falcons, no touchdown, but they did give up 88 yards. And against the Cowboys, they've given up 9 receptions, 65 yards. And I also think that the books are disrespecting Jaceki after 2 great weeks. His over-under is at 3.5 receptions, and his yards are at over-under 40.5. I like Jaceki. He made me money last week. I'm going to attack him again.
Well, I'm from New Jersey, and when you bring up Mike Gesicki, I just think of his high school championship game against my high school team, and just think about, bro, he's one of the best players I've ever seen play in person. I've been sold on him. I'm sold. I'm back on the bandwagon. Mike Gesicki it is, but shout outs to the quick sponsors real quick. Make sure you head over to Manscaped. Use promo code PupSportsRadio on your checkout to get free shipping and a nice little discount for you. I am here with DFS by the numbers and El Capo, aka El Hector. We are gonna go over this 9:30 London game, first London game of the season. Atlanta Falcons versus the New York Jets. We're gonna go over some quick injury news. Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage will not be traveling with the team due to a ankle injury, and I think one of them is having personal problems. I believe that is Calvin Ridley. Regardless, we won't be seeing them suit up for this game. This will be one of the first weeks. I think the Jets offense is really going to be healthy. The Falcons are 2-point favorites. The over under is set at 45.5. I think we got a man from California, downtown California, that is going to help us out with some props to get you paid. So this is the type of game. I like the London games. I know a lot of people don't like the London games. You don't have to watch the game. You place the bets, you wake up on Sunday morning, and when you check your fantasy lineups, you're checking your bank account and you get a couple dollars in your pocket after we made you some money on the UFC card tomorrow. But welcome, Sharpie Bets, to the building. Sharpie, how you feeling today?
Oh, bake like a cake, baby. Let's fucking get it.
Let's go, Sharpie. We're going to go right to you. What is your favorite prop in this Atlanta and New York Jets game? We're not going to break down the game fully too much. We're just going to get straight into the props.
let's get right to it then, guys. I'm betting a prop on Bovada. I'm gonna combine Cordell Patterson, Mike Davis reception yards at 79 at -120. Herein why, guys. Last 3 games they've hit for 80 yards or more, 80 to 100, 3 games in a row. And like they were saying right before this, all the injury reports, the 2 starting wide receivers are out. Who the hell is going to get the ball? So he loves throwing to his to his running backs. I don't want to pick what running back's going to get it. So I'm going to combine both running backs. I'm going to move. It's at 75. I moved it up to 79 at -120 because they have 80 or more in 3 straight combined together. So that's my best bet.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Let's go over to El Hector. What are you looking at in this Atlanta New York Jets game?
So touching up on what Sharpie said, I like Cordell Patterson too. He's my homie. I played him in the Millie Maker, and it paid off. I've been eyeing him up for a couple weeks now. The public caught on to him. So I looked into this game, and rightfully so, both teams are over 60% on pass plays. And that's because they're always playing from behind. So the Falcons are missing 2 stud receivers. So I wanted to dig a little bit more into the Jets side of things. So I looked. So the Jets versus the Titans last week, and it was a close game the whole time. And they won, right? They won last week?
Yes, sir. Shout out. Oh, was it a tie or did they win?
I believe
they won. I know they covered the spread, but I think they won the game outright too.
I think they won the game. So I was more focused on that game in terms of the whole season because I wanted to see what type of play calling they did. So on the season, they ran 35% of the time. Last week, it got bumped up to 41%. Falcons defense is giving up 4.46 yards per attempt. Last week, Michael Carter played on 51% of his snap on the running back snaps. The Falcons have given up 330 yards on the ground, 82.5 yards per game. Right now, the books have Michael Carter at over under 45.5 rushing yards. Last week, he saw his season high in attempts at 13. If the Jets keep it close, it's going to be because they find success on the ground. And if he surpasses 10 attempts, he should be able to hit that over 45 rushing prop.
I definitely do like that one, El Hector.
You speaking to the choir with Michael Carter with me and Billy, baby.
Yeah. Sharpie was on here last week, gave out a Michael Carter prop. I think he owes Sharpie some money, so he's going to go right back to the well. Me personally, I'm going to go to the big dog, and I'm calling this now, man. I'm calling this now. I'm putting the nuts on the table. Kyle Pitts will have the game of his life. He is going to smash over 60.5 receiving yards at -115. That is a fucking gift, considering what is going on for the Falcons right now, man. You can get Kyle Pitts for a superb price tag. I think his over-under should be at 75.5. He has covered his prop 3 out of the 4 games, and I think the market hasn't reacted enough. It opened up at 39.5. It's at 60. I think it should go up even more. I think they're disrespecting my boy Brady. What are you looking at in this New York Jets Atlanta game? Or are you not even looking at it at all?
There's not much that sticks out on this one, but what does stick out, I'm with you 110%, Billy. Ridley is out. Gage is out. Who are they going to throw the ball to? Pitts, Patterson. And I think Pitts over 5.5 receptions looks good. Pitts over yards like you're going with looks good. Who is I can't pronounce the wide receiver's name, the guy that starts with
Alameda Zacchaeus. You know this is an Alameda Zacchaeus fan friendly.
Olamide. Say it. Let it roll off your tongue. Olamide.
I can never say that name, but him over 3.5 receptions looks decent, right?
I like it. I like it, Brady. We got to get you practicing on the name, man. Let me hear it one last time for the clips.
Omele Zacchaeus.
There we go, Brady. I love to see it. I love to hear it. That is what we're looking at in this Atlanta Jets game. Is there anything else you guys were looking at before we head on out of here?
Real quick, when I was searching up stats for this game, Matt Ryan's under passing yards at 268.5 was really intriguing. He averages 247 on the year, guys, and the Jets haven't given are averaging 226. So there's a lot of numbers favoring that under. I'm not an under guy, but that thing stuck out to me while reading up some stuff.
I'm glad you said that, Sharpie, because I was actually looking at Matt Ryan over 1.5 passing touchdowns at -115. And I thought that was a really cheap number for over 1.5 passing touchdowns for Matt Ryan. He's covered that in 3 straight games, but maybe there is reason to be cautioned behind that. El Hector, is there anything you're looking at in this game?
Yes. 2 games I want to talk about. So I talked about the Chargers before. On the Cleveland side, so I believe that the Chargers it's going to be business as usual with them, passing the ball. The Browns like to run. They run more than they pass. And if they're playing from behind, who's going to step up? I think Austin Cooper could be another sneaky tight end DFS play. I got cute last week and I threw on Njoku over 18.5 receiving yards. He finished with 17. Someone's got to step up, and Austin Hooper might be that guy. So Odell Beckham missed a couple games, but he's tied with Hooper with targets. So that's interesting. I'm going to have to dig into that one a little bit more. And the last game I want to talk about is the Patriots-Texans game.
Did you see that the Patriots are going to be down 4 offensive linemen for this game?
I did see that. But when I was looking at the stats, I did not take that into account. But that is better for what I'm about to talk about. Surprisingly, the Patriots pass on 68% of their plays. The Texans' defense, the cornerback that's lined up on the left side on the season has given up, on average, 74 receiving yards. And the cornerback that lines up on the right has given up 69.5. They have been solid to the slot position. On average, they've given up 24.8 yards per game to the slot. And who lines up in the slot is Jacoby Myers. He leads the team in targets in the last 3 weeks with 32, and he's run 77% of his routes from the slot. So I'm expecting Nelson Aguilar and Bourne to step up. Nelson Aguilar ran 71% of his plays from the left. He has 16 targets in the last 3 weeks. Right now, his over-under is at 36. He's hit that 36.5. He's hit that mark 2 of 4 games. We all watched that primetime Buccaneers game, and we saw Bourne ball. Bourne also has 16 targets, but he has 71 more yards than Nelson Aguilar and 5 more receptions. He started off the season slow, but has been on the uptrend in the past 2 weeks. 96 yards, 6 receptions against the Saints, 5 receptions, 58 yards against the Bucs. The Bucks. Oh, 1 sec, sorry.
You're Gucci. No, that was definitely spot on.
I just wrote down Bourne. I'm playing him. Keep talking.
Last sentence. So he's on the uptrend. The books have him at over under 29.5 and over under 2.5 receptions. This could be the last buy low opportunity on Bourne.
You're selling me.
You sold me. And at 29.5, I just came in my pants.
We've been watching the Texans. The Bills were the only team to really kick the piss out of them. Other than that, they've been keeping it close. And they've been playing. So I feel like the Patriots are gonna pass, and I'm looking at those 2 guys for NFL props. DFS, it's a whole different story, but I like those numbers right there.
I definitely like those numbers as well. A couple of cheap running back options that could be on this week's slate. Injury news dependent. Joe Mixon could be ruled out, and that could pop up Samaje Perine at $4,000. Me and Brady hit on that Wednesday. Also, Damian Williams, Chicago Bears running back at $5,600 and $5,800 on Fanduel. Definitely will get the step up with David Montgomery being out this week. Brady, is there any cheap options or anything left on the table? Any meat left on the bone? What's Brady? What I want to get inside that big brain of Brady's and cash some props like Brady has been.
Yeah, not much sticks out for me this week in terms of props, but I think Hector touched on the Gesicki over 3.5 receptions. I'm going to be on that. And then also the Waddle 4.5 receptions. I'm going to be on that as well. Will Fuller is now going to be out for this week. And against Tampa Bay, Hector touched on, I forget which game it was, but I think it was the Saints, right? They have a great run defense. They're going to have to pass on them. Same thing with the Bucks. Great run defense. One of the best, if not the best, run defense in the league. I think they're going to have to pass the ball a ton. And I think Waddle and Gesicki can probably both hit that over. So I'll be on both of those, I think.
That's what I like to hear. Everybody's kind of in the same boat, though. If you want to follow each one of these individual handicappers, Sharpie, where can they follow you at?
Y'all can find me at Sharpie's Bets on Twitter, Mr. Green Moon on Instagram, or your local dive bar picking up your local whales, then dropping them off back at SeaWorld because I live in San Diego, baby. Let's get it, fellas.
I love to hear it. Al Hector, where can they find you at?
Capo Capping on Twitter.
I love to hear it. Brady, I will be joined with you tomorrow, breaking down the UFC card an hour before the event. Where can they find that out? And what time is that at? Because the UFC card's at 1 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, so the UFC card starts at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. I think they moved the time because we lost a fight or two. So 2 o'clock there. We'll be going live 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on my channel, DFS by the Numbers. And you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. So, yeah, looking forward to this week.
That's what I like to hear. Each one of these cappers are extraordinary in what they do. If you want to follow each one of them individually, their Twitter hashtag handles are right there. We're about to head on out. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out, hit the bell notification, and make sure Breast Cancer Awareness Month, if you'd like to donate by phone, 1-877-GO-KOMEN. Tell them Pub Sports Radio sent you.